Idaho Falls Pediatrics, proudly supporting kids in our community, and 7 Questions with Emmy.
Hey guys, welcome back to 7 Questions with Emmy. Today I'm so excited to be talking with Brian Wood. He is the owner of Wood Funeral Home. Hi Brian.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
I'm excited to have you here.
I'm excited to be talking to you today.
Awesome.
You might know him from, my dad did a Feel Good Friday here, wasn't it? Here? Yeah, and so Brian was there. He was in the Feel Good Friday.
Yep.
So should we just jump into the questions
Oh man,
already?
let's do it.
Okay, question number 1. What does a funeral director do?
Okay, so let me respond to your question with another question. Did you know a funeral director actually has 2 jobs? One is called funeral director and one is mortician. Did you know that? Have you heard of mortician before? Have you heard that word?
Not really.
Okay, well let me tell you a little bit about that. So I have 2 jobs here when I'm helping people. One of the jobs is funeral director, like you mentioned, and the other one is mortician, but those are completely different jobs. A funeral director helps the living. So when somebody dies, the family that is planning those funerals, the funeral director helps the family. And so he'll meet with them, he'll visit with them, he'll kind of take them by the hand and lead them through the funeral process. So he'll be the guy that's dressed just like I am right now. He'll wear a suit, he'll be there to help the family at the funeral, he'll go to the cemetery. And then there's the mortician. A mortician actually works with the person that died. So the easy way to remember that is the mortician works with the dead and the funeral director works with the living. And the mortician, what he does is he gets that person that died looking great. And he really takes a lot of time to make sure that they look their best and has them ready for their family for the funeral. So those are the 2 main jobs that I have here.
Question number 2. How does someone get cremated?
So the cremation process, how do they get cremated? Well, just asking me that question, you probably know that cremation is one of the things that we offer here. We have 2 methods of disposition, is what it's called. One is burial, and that's casket burial when the body is buried. The other one is cremation. So when someone is cremated, their body is broken down into ashes, and that process is done with heat. So we have a great big metal container in our garage. It's almost the size of this room. And they are placed in this thing, and through the process of heat and flame, this cremation process breaks their body down into ashes. And that cremation process, if you see your mom cooking sometimes at home on the oven, sometimes she'll set the timer for 325 or 400. But the cremation is much, much stronger heat. It gets up to about 1,500 or 1,800 degrees.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So that process will break the body down into ash. And once they're broken down into ash, they will fit into a container like this. So before that, if someone is buried, they go into a big box called a casket.
Do you have ashes in there right now?
Nope, this is empty. Yeah, but this is what an urn looks like. We have lots of different kinds of urns. In fact, I brought another one up here to show you, Emmy, if you have a minute. So that is your standard urn, but we have lots of really cool urns that kind of go for, whatever families want. Say that their dad was a cowboy and he loved his cowboy boots. Well, a company made this cool urn where we can open up the bottom and place the remains once after the cremation inside this, and the family can remember them by keeping this at home. So there you go. There's a little bit of information about cremation.
What are some of the other things? Like, could you do a necklace or anything?
Oh yeah, you're smart. So downstairs where we keep all these urns, we also have a wall that has necklaces, and inside the little necklace there's a little opening inside, and some of the ashes can be placed inside the necklace, and then somebody can wear that necklace and feel their loved one close by them. I had a lady once who her husband died unexpectedly. She bought a beautiful little dolphin necklace, and inside that dolphin necklace she put some ashes. And I saw her one day, and she said she ran into somebody at Albertsons that said, "I love your necklace." And she said it gave her an opportunity to talk about her husband. She says, "Well, this is my husband's ashes are in here." And she got to tell that lady about her husband. So those things can be very important for people. Great question.
Thank you. What's the most uniquest coffin that you've seen?
So I'm glad you brought up the word coffin. Have you ever heard the word casket? So there's a difference between coffin and casket. Do you know what the difference is?
No.
Let me show you.
I know coffins that vampires live in coffins.
There you go. So you already are onto something. So I'm going to draw you a picture of a coffin and a casket, and I'll show you the difference.
So that's a coffin, I think.
There you go. So a coffin is exactly what you said. It reminds you of Dracula, right?
Yeah.
So coffins were used a long time ago, and they're still used in some countries. But what the main difference is the shape. So this shape is called anthropoidal. The anthropoidal means it's in the shape of a human body. So it's wide where the shoulders are, and it's narrow where the feet are. And to simplify the manufacturing process, companies came up with the rectangle, the casket. And so you see that more commonly today. But your question was more about if we've seen some unique ones before, huh?
Yeah, like really ones that catch your eye or
For
something.
sure. In fact, recently we've had some cool, really unique ones. One thing I've seen families that put their favorite sports team, they wrapped the car. You know how your dad drives a car that says East Idaho News on the side? It's wrapped in a cool sticker or decal. We've had families do that before with their casket, with their loved one that has a favorite sports team. They'll wrap it in that sports team. We've also had families that have made their own, and they've taken a lot of time with their wood. They have woodworkers in their family, and they'll design a very beautiful casket. We recently had a gentleman in our neighborhood here in the community who loved baseball, and when he died, the family made a casket, and the handles were baseball bats. And the guys that carried the casket, they carried the baseball bats. And that was a special tribute for this young guy that passed away.
That's
So,
pretty cool.
Yeah, we have seen some very unique caskets. And I have yet to see and actually bury a coffin. But hopefully one of these days we'll have a coffin here. So, good question.
Maybe if someone really likes vampires, they'll get a coffin.
There you go.
When someone dies, what do you do with their body?
So that's where the mortician comes in, right? So he's the guy that works with the body. So the mortician would spend his time making that person look their very best. You know, sometimes when someone dies, it's not in the very best circumstance. Sometimes they'll have been in the hospital for a long time, and they won't look their very best. Their hair isn't combed right or cut.
You might look really pale.
Yeah, pale. They might have too many whiskers like me. Well, we'll take our time with them to make them look perfect. You know, when you have a wedding day, the bride wants to look perfect, right? We hope to have the same thing when we have a funeral, is really help this person look perfect. So we'll have the family bring their most favorite outfit, and we'll dress them in their favorite outfit. If they're in the military, sometimes they'll bring their military outfit, and we'll dress them. We'll make sure their hair looks perfect. We'll make sure if they were pale that we make sure their color looks a little bit better. And so when the family sees them, it brings them some comfort when it's their very last time seeing them. So there you go.
Well, I was gonna say, if they like they won't complain if you tug on their hair too tight or something.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably one of the best parts. Because sometimes you have a really big ouchy knot in your hair, so when you brush it, it hurts. That's the best part. They won't complain about you doing anything wrong.
There you go. And they don't even mind my jokes either. So. Okay, what's next?
How many flowers do you see a day?
We see a lot of flowers, Emmy. Yesterday I was at a funeral and the whole building was full of flowers. In fact, when we were done with the funeral, I walked up to the daughter and I said, I don't know how we're going to get all these flowers transported to the cemetery, but I see a lot of flowers. And you know what the biggest problem is with seeing that many flowers? Us guys that are married, we always are trying to find ways to do something nice for our wives so they're happy. But guess what? My wife doesn't want me to bring her home. Flowers. Because she thinks I'm stealing them from a funeral. And so instead, she makes me bring her chocolates and candy whenever I bring her a snack or a treat. So, but I don't get to bring flowers home. Hopefully your dad brings flowers home for your mom sometimes.
He doesn't. He bring them to me sometimes.
There you go.
When you're around a lot of sad people, how do you comfort them and how do you stay positive?
That is a great question. Earlier today, while I was thinking about that, I actually got a hold of somebody I helped 14 years ago here when I was a young funeral director. It was early on. I had only been a funeral director for a short time, and I was still trying to figure out my role here and how to help people and how to lead them through such a hard process. In fact, that family gave me permission to show a picture of their family, and I'm going to show that to you. So years ago, I helped this family. 14 years ago,
Long time.
this beautiful little girl sitting in the front passed away in an accident, and it was the first time I had dealt with a very difficult situation. And when the mom and dad, Mike and Holly, came in to see me, the first thing that went through my mind is that my oldest daughter was almost the same age as this beautiful little girl, Macy. And it allowed me to put myself in their shoes. And I felt some of the pain that they were feeling. I could see how terrible and how hard it would have been to have lost my daughter. And so it allowed me to really reach in and to love them and to allow them to trust me. And they gave me this picture after the funeral, and I've kept it on my desk ever since. I've had it on my desk almost 15 years. Every day when I come into work, when I come to my desk, it's a reminder to me to make sure I always show the greatest amount of love and support that I can for every family that walks through the door. And so that's what I try to do, Emmy, is I try to put myself in their shoes and try to picture how hard it would be to lose a loved one. And then I, as a funeral director, do all I can to help them through that process. So there you go.
What's something we might not know about your job?
One thing you might not know about my job, and what everybody asks me, is how I could have such a hard job. Seems like it'd be a hard job, huh? Working with people that are going through such a hard time, right? Well, what I tell people is it is a great blessing to be able to help people. And I think any job where you can help somebody, you're ultimately happier in the end. Even though I have to help people through a very difficult time, at the end of the day I can go home and I can look at my family and realize that life can sometimes be short. And it makes me more grateful for the things that I have in my life. So I'm a very happy person. I love my job. I love helping people through a difficult experience. I love the relationships that I gain from taking care of these people. And it ultimately helps me be a better dad to my kids and a better husband to my wife. So I'm grateful for those things. And a lot of people don't realize, that's something people wouldn't realize, that having a job like this would really help me be a more happy person.
Okay, can I ask you one bonus question?
I'm ready.
So before we started filming, Brian had this tiny staircase, and he said his office used to be a bedroom. Can you tell them, the viewers, a story about your upstairs?
Yeah, so this office hasn't always been an office. A long time ago, more than 100 years ago, my great-grandpa bought this building that we're sitting in now. And it used to be a doctor's home. And the doctor had a nice big home. So my great-grandpa, when he bought it, he said, wow, I could live here with my family and I could run a funeral business for Idaho Falls. So upstairs where we're sitting now, this room, which is my office, used to be a bedroom. And my great-grandpa and my great-grandma raised their family here. So we put in a funny circular staircase to get up here. And this office, which used to be part of the family's home, holds a special place in my heart. This is kind of where it all began in 1911, years ago.
That's a long time
been here a
ago.
long time. And my office is upstairs because downstairs our office staff has grown to fill all of the office space. So we added a space upstairs so I can work in a quiet area. So.
Thank you so much for talking with me today, Brian.
You're welcome. It's been a good time.
So if anyone has a funeral that you need to do, definitely come to Brian, and we're sorry for your loss if you have a funeral. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.
Idaho Falls Pediatrics, proudly supporting kids in our community, and 7 questions with Emmy.